weirdest thing I've ever seen. Kind of creepy. I am in a little village called Cosgrove, and I'm about to go through this tunnel. It's a little bit dank looking, but apparently it's an old horse tunnel that used to allow horses to get from one side of the canal to the other. It's kind of cool, if a little creepy. But at least I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. But I wouldn't fancy coming back from a night at the pub through it. Success. Wow. It's the canal. Hi, I'm Martin, reader, writer, hiker. I'm also neurodiverse and suffer from pretty bad social anxiety. I love being out in nature, but my anxiety can keep me indoors for days at a time. This is my attempt to put that right. So why am I here? Well, I've come to do a little circular walk along the canal and then back round into the village. That's the road I just came down that I've walked under here and came out there. It's turned into an absolutely lovely day. It was actually quite miserable this morning, so I'm glad I waited till this afternoon to come out. I've only been walking for literally a couple of minutes, but this is already such a lovely spot. I find something really romantic and fascinating about canals and canal boats, and I've actually considered living on one before now, quite seriously, but I think it's just a little bit too much like hard work. Maybe I just need to live next to the canal and have ducks on my lawn sunning themselves. In this series, I'm challenging myself to get out and about, to reconnect with the nature that I love so much, and to take you guys along for the ride, talking about my favourite books and what I'm reading along the way. This Gothic style bridge was built in the 1790s and is apparently one of only 2 ornamental bridges over the canal. I'm sure that was a very romantic little shot, but actually you can't get through there, it's blocked, so I'm going to have to go over the bridge. But that does mean I get a pretty look back at the way I've just come. Ah, okay. This looks more like it. It's also a very cool looking canal barge. You've lost the sun, guys, you need to move. Here's a very nice looking bridge. So I'm now on the right path. Pretty sure I went under the bridge, under the canal rather, unnecessarily, to only then go back over the bridge to the same side I started on, but it was worth it to go under that cool little tunnel. And now I follow the towpath for some little way. And it's turned into such a nice afternoon. I'm so glad I decided to come out, because it was tempting not to bother. Ducks. And Canada geese. I love Canada geese. We used to have them fly over our old home in Wales every day. Such a signature sound of them honking their way across that I really miss. Hey guys. Afraid I don't have any bread for you. Remiss of me, I know. But you're not supposed to have it anyway. Bye. See, I like them. I think they're as good as a swan. Stately creatures. See, doesn't that look idyllic? Until you remember that you need to walk down the towpath every time you need to go to the shops. This one has its own wind power generator. How cool is that? I think that must be a little village called Castlethorpe over there in the distance, but it's looking very pretty, whatever it's called, in the early spring sunshine. I just need those slightly threatening darker clouds to stay over there. See, that doesn't look good. We have another bridge. Not quite as pretty as the last one. It's a horse with a fancy haircut. Hi, horse. We obviously need to go up and over the bridge. Ooh, another pub. I was wrong, we're done with the canal part of the walk, so I'm going down the road instead. I think we're heading for a footpath out across the fields. The pub is tempting though. Thankfully there is this grass verge because there's no path along the road here, though it's not the busiest road. Cars do bomb along it. Like that. I often find it's the case when you're trying to plan a route or a walk just from a map or from what's written in a book. It's things like this you don't often realise until you get here. It's one of the reasons I haven't got Bilbo with me today, and often don't take him on brand new walks because, you know, I never know what I'm going to find, and whether it's going to be easy to get him through it or not. The way is narrowing, but we can still get through. Walking along this relatively busy road, I did feel my anxiety starting to spike ever so slightly. It's always the same. The more I feel observed by other people, the more anxious I get. Aha, bridle way. We have success, people. We have success. And a gate. I've yet to find a comfortable spot to sit and tell you about this week's book. But look at that blue sky. So there was a farmer out in his tractor in that last field, which of course, you know, this is a farm. I'm walking through farmland. But I know I'm on a path, I know I'm on a footpath because I've got my GS map app, which shows me exactly where I am. So I know I have every right to be here. But I can't help just feeling really guilty. It's like when you get followed by a police car, even though you know you're fine, you're not speeding or anything, but you immediately feel guilty. And I just feel like I shouldn't be here. But I know it's okay for me to be here. I will take solace in this lovely tree. Isn't that a nice tree? To the right of our new tree friend, we have this little picturesque scene with another church tower there. But over this side, we have the first sort of indications of a more industrial looking landscape, which I know is all around here. That's the first time I've seen signs of it. Oh, look at this. What do we think? Big rabbits? Small foxes? Badgers? I don't know. So I am almost coming back into the village of Cosgrove now. You can see from the little marker there, little triangle on the map. So if I'm going to find somewhere to talk about this week's book, it's going to have to be soon. And to be honest, I quite like the look of this little corner here by this gate. It's tucked away out of the wind. Wow, look at this fungi I just found on this old, well, it's an old cut off bit of tree. Look at that. Now, wait a minute, forget that. Look at this fungi. Fungi. I never remember. But look how cool that is. That's awesome. If anyone knows what these are, by the way, let me know in the comments. I would love to be up on my fungi recognition, but I really am not. Very cool, though. Well, it's not quite as picturesque as last week's beautiful tree in that parkland, but it'll do. So this week I am reading this chonker of a book that was actually sent to me last year by one of my followers over on TikTok. And it is Tad Williams' Dragon Bone Chair. I have to admit I've been really intimidated by this book and the whole series, because she got me the first and the second in the series, and they are both chonkers. I was somewhat terrified to start them because I'm not the best with long books. I have a short attention span sometimes, and the thought of trying to read through all of this, it's intimidating. But that being said, I am really glad that I have now started it, because I'm not very far in, only a tiny way really, but so far I am absolutely loving it. I've heard this book mentioned a few times as kind of inspiration for other writers, like G.R.R. Martin and people like that. So I know that it's kind of revered in certain circles, but it's not a series that you hear getting talked about very much, at least not these days. If you're not familiar with this series, this is good old-fashioned, classic, epic fantasy in the style of Lord of the Rings, J.R.R. Tolkien. We have Simon, a kind of kitchen boy in a grand castle who dreams of becoming a knight and having adventures. And then, of course, it goes on to have those said adventures, but they don't turn out to be quite what he was expecting. We have a dark lord of a sort looking to regain control of the lands, and so far it's all really good escapism. It's good stuff. It's also really well written. I can see why maybe it acted as an inspiration for other authors, because it is really entertaining. And as I say, I'm not that far in yet, and it's a big book, but so far I haven't got to those long, dry passages that Tolkien himself, I find, can be guilty of. So far, the pace has been pretty good. Things have kind of ripped along, but not too fast. I feel involved with the characters and the world, and I'm looking forward to more. I'm also actually using the audiobook to help me get through this, and I can thoroughly recommend that. The narrator is really good. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but I'll put it up here. So definitely recommend those as well if you, like me, would struggle to get through a book this thick. Well, I was hoping to sit and read for a little bit, but to be perfectly honest with you, it's getting a little chilly out here now. So I think I'm going to crack on, get back into Cosgrove, and maybe go home for a nice little read. I got this flask for free when I bought some Coca-Cola last year. No affiliation. It's almost too good, because I made this tea about half an hour before I set out to get here, because I knew last time I used it that the tea was too hot throughout my entire walk, and so I had to drink it at the end almost. So I made it deliberately early on purpose so that it would be cool enough to drink by the time I wanted it. I've just had a sip and burnt my tongue because it's still too blooming hot. As I passed through this gate, I came back into the back end of the village, and there was a lovely little allotment plot right here, but you'll have to take my word for it because someone came through at the same time and I was too embarrassed to film. So we are almost back in the village. This route was only about an hour long. I deliberately picked a shorter one because I wasn't sure how it was going to go, how I would react, how my anxiety would be. But it's been pretty good. I've had a few kind of flare-ups in certain places, but for the most part, it's been alright. So maybe next time I'll go for a bit of a longer one. I recognise this bridge. So the route I've chosen is taking me back over the bridge we came over at the beginning of the walk, and then I'll have to go back under the tunnel, under the canal, to get back to my car. I've crossed this canal 4 times. Well, I hope you've enjoyed coming on this little walk with me. You know, I'm learning as I go, but I hope you're enjoying coming for the ride with me. And see you next week. If a longer walk feels like a little bit too much for you, I can really recommend even just walking this little route that goes through the village. There's a lovely pub, and it's just a really nice spot to be. It's very peaceful. And there is actually even a house for sale. That got me thinking. But I'm not sure. It's very close to the canal. Do canals flood? Kind of imagine they must do. That'll be pretty catastrophic for all these places. I've just noticed this on here. So there must have been a flood last year, 2024. And it level came up all the way to there. That is crazy. That is absolutely nuts. Up to there. You'd have to wade through the tunnel. And with that, I have re-emerged into the real world. And my walk is done. Oh my god, the pub is making food and it smells so good. And just as I was feeling good about myself, something happened to send my anxiety skyrocketing. I'm back in the car, and someone just beeped me in their car as I walked past out from under the tunnel, and I've got no idea why. I just walked past and ignored it. This is the sort of thing that just sends me into a complete and utter spiral of anxiety. I don't know what they wanted. Was I doing something wrong? My immediate thoughts were, oh, maybe I parked in the wrong place, or I don't know what. And all that kind of zen that I managed to get out in the field and by the canal is just immediately obliterated as soon as I'm back in any kind of civilization. The trials continue. I realised as I was driving away there was a hiker waiting at the pub, clearly for a taxi, and eventually the car that beeped me did drive up and pick him up, so that's what that was about. Anyway, see you next time.